Hello, everybody, to Sci Friendly Neighborhood INFP, and today we are going to be looking at the MBTI types as Greek gods. Now, this one was a lot harder than I had expected it to be, but regardless, starting off with Zeus. Now, Zeus is a ESFP. Ha! Gotcha. I bet you thought he was an ESTJ or an ENTJ, didn't ya? No, 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 no. This is a guy who was live and let live. Yes, he took care of the Titans, but after that, and after the setup of rules and everything, this dude was carefree. Yeah, he upheld justice, but he was also a god to toy with humans and other gods, and also kind of ruining their lives and causing a bunch of mayhem. See Hercules and a bunch of other demigods who Zeus has inadvertently ruined or had ruined due to his actions, basically by sleeping with just about everybody. Not only that, but he was a person who wasn't exactly all that. He was one of those people who would act before he thinks. He was carefree, he was jovial, he engaged in revelry often. If Dionysus was holding a party, Zeus would probably be there. He enjoyed having parties himself. And this guy, his mood controlled the weather. So if the weather was good, Zeus was in a good mood. If his mood was bad, the weather was in a bad spot. So for Zeus, I see him as a very sensory person, as a person who, as soon as he sees something that he likes and that he wants, he goes after it. He doesn't care. Consequences? What are those? So yeah, that is essentially why I am giving Zeus the ESFP. Next up, we have Hera, Zeus's wife, and she is a ESFJ. The reason why she's an ESFJ is because she is the goddess of mothers, women, marriage, and family. Also childbirth as well. So very much that kind of super motherly type of goddess, but she was also very vindictful and jealous and easy to enrage, and especially with all of the stuff that Zeus did, she wasn't too thrilled with his actions, as she wanted him to rightfully stay loyal to her and probably the wives to stay within the place that he was supposed to stay. But once again, Zeus didn't care about the rules and the feeling about others in that way. So yeah, Hera, if you wanted to see what a ESFJ who seeks your downfall might look like, see the story between Hera and Hercules. It's a very clear-cut and good story as to what that dynamic might look like, where Hera essentially makes Hercules kill his own family and then causes him to have to go through the trials and all of that, the 12 trials of Hercules and all that. So yeah, a very vindictful woman, but also a woman who was the goddess of women, marriage, family, and childbirth, and because of these reasons, I'm giving her the ESFJ. Next up, we have Hermes. Hermes is the ENTP. He was the god of merchants, thieves, travelers, adventurers, and he was quite a prankster himself. Fast talker, prankster, very inventive, came up with a bunch of new stuff, and enjoyed just both playing pranks, fast talking himself out of things. And because he was able to fast talk out of things and his roles and everything, he of course became one of the core messengers of the Greek pantheon, but isn't the only one. We'll get to that later. But Hermes, because of his inventiveness, his cleverness, his wit, if you would, his desire to do all the things that he did, and his kind of smug nature, for those reasons, I am giving him the ENTP. Next up, we have Hephaestus. Hephaestus is a ISTP. It should come to absolutely no surprise to absolutely anybody that the god of the forge is a ISTP. Yes, he invents a bunch of stuff, but just because he invents a bunch of stuff does not mean that he is an INTP or any other kind of thing. He is more of a practical god. He does things that serve a practical purpose. He will engineer things, make things. Probably the closest today idea as to what Hephaestus would probably be a mechanical engineer type of character, or an engineer type of character. Definitely a craftsman of some sort, and a mechanical engineer with like abilities in all sorts of crafting facets, which ISTPs are known wildly for. So that's why Hephaestus gets ISTP. Aries is next, and once again, it should come to absolutely no surprise that the god of war is an ESTP. He enjoys a challenge, he enjoys a good fight, he enjoys like all strife. He enjoys something that gets his blood pumping, that provides him that challenge, that provides him that excitement. Not one to sit still for long, because he's always got a new war to look after and inspire and all of that. And, you know, even lead people to victory. And if you look at like the Spartan cultures, it might look like something an ESTP god might create. So yeah, Aries very easily a ESTP. Next up, we have Hestia. Hestia is the goddess of the forge, or not the forge, sorry. Hestia is the goddess of the hearth and home. She is the one who is behind the scenes often and is helping mortals have a comfortable home, helping the gods have a comfortable place. A lot of her work takes place behind the scenes, and because of this, much like the ISFJ, Hestia is an ISFJ in my mind, because ISFJs like to do things behind the scenes. They don't like having a bunch of conflict, and if there is some conflict, they'll take care of it fairly quickly. And most of the time, Hestia is wanting to make sure that families are taken care of, have a good home, have a good hearth, and she keeps that fire burning so that, you know, everybody can be comfortable. And if you've ever been inside of a like nice and kind cinnamon bun roll ISFJ, I think they would look a lot like Hestia would. So that's what I'm giving Hestia, the ISFJ. Hades. Hades was an interesting one. I actually had some trouble with this one until I finally came to the conclusion that Hades is likely an INTJ. The reason why he is an INTJ is because he does have some goals. He does have some things of wanting to grow his underworld kingdom, although he doesn't like immediately get at it like an ENTJ, ESTJ, or some other types. It's more of a slow burn for him. He is perfectly fine waiting for more and more of the dead to come to him, for more and more of his underworld to come to him. And of course, because he got stuck with the underworld, because he's not the god of the dead, he's the god of the underworld and riches, or wealth. Because of these reasons, he is a INTJ. He is perfectly fine being in his kingdom. He is perfectly fine. He is perfectly fine ruling over his kingdom in solitude, or with his wife Persephone, who he absolutely dotes on. And because of his plans that are like a slow burn, I see him as an INTJ. And not only that, but he doesn't leave his realm often. And when he does, he's never seen because of his helmet of invisibility. He is one of those people who would much rather his effects be felt than seen, and he does have a bit of pleasure with seeing some of the souls and people fear him, but he's not an outright evil god, and nor does he like go out of his way. He just happens to deal in a dark place and has developed a personality that matches the place that he got. So that is, all those reasons are kind of why I'm giving him the INTJ. Next up, we have Athena. Now, Athena for me is an INTP. She is, of course, the goddess of wisdom, strategy, strategic warfare, and all of that. But the reason why I'm saying INTP is because Athena gave a lot of solutions on the spot. People came to her for immediate solutions. Even if some of those solutions she may have been BSing and then helped create happen, she still created those solutions on the spot and, helped people through those ways. And if anybody knows anything about INTPs, they have a lot of knowledge that they keep to themselves, some of it useful, some of it not so useful, and some of it that they can use to screw with you or help you depending on how they're feeling, which is typically how Athena also worked. See the Battle of Troy, for example, on one of those situations, if you would. Or the deal with Arachne, or the deal with the Medusa. It all depends on how you want to see it. But regardless, Athena was one of those people who was very quick-witted, was able to come up with the answers on the spot, and of course she came out of Zeus's brain, which means that, all of his smarts probably went into her. So yeah, those reasons would be why I'm giving her the INTP, especially with her innovative and quick-witted and coming up with solutions on the spot type of personality. Next up, we have Apollo. Now, Apollo is a ISFP to me. He is the god of music, the arts, acting, basically all of the arts. He is also the god where the muses kind of live around him. He deals with a lot of the reason why he has the lyre is because of Hermes, and he's a very musical and art-based god in general, and I feel like Apollo would be one of those people who would be a master at his craft, much like an ISFP goes to master their craft. It is one and the same with them. And then with Apollo, with him and his music and him and his art and him and his all this dancing and all of that kind of stuff, he's one with it. So because of these reasons is essentially why I'm kind of giving Apollo the ISFP, because of the ISFP nature to essentially master and become one with the things that they have and do master. Next up, we have Prometheus. Now, Prometheus is an INFJ. The reason why he is an INFJ is because he looked at the mortals, saw their predicament, felt bad for them, wanted a better life for them. And a lot of the times what I've seen from INFJs is that they typically want people to lead into a better situation or into a better life or into a better area or into a more ideal area, which is what Prometheus wanted with the humans, which is why he then went and essentially martyred himself for the humans by bringing them fire so that they wouldn't die. And because of this reason, he would end up being tormented for a long time until Hercules came along and helped set him free. Next one is Nyx. Nyx is an interesting one. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out who would be an ENTJ, and I settled down on Nyx. And the reason why I gave Nyx the ENTJ is because she is one of the first gods to ever exist. She came out of the god Chaos, who essentially helped create the world, and she is the night sky and stars and darkness. And she is the only god, or in this case, only goddess that Zeus fears. Zeus doesn't fear any other god or goddess, but Nyx, he is absolutely terrified. And in fact, most gods are terrified of Nyx, if not all of them. So because of that, and because of the overwhelming power that she holds, where even Zeus is going, nah, not touching that. That is why I'm giving Nyx ENTJ. Also the fact that she brought about Thanatos, who is the god of death, and some other people too who are also very spooky and terrifying to deal with. So because of those reasons, I'm giving Nyx ENTJ. Then we have Dyke. Yes, she is a goddess. She's the daughter of Themis. Themis? She's the daughter of Themis. She is the upholder of justice, especially for mortals and the mortal way of life, to make sure that mortals abide by the correct set of rules that one should abide by, the standards that everyone should go after. She judges kind of fairly and impartially, but everything must follow under one of those rules in her eyes. And because everything must follow under the rules and like the sense of justice that she has, that is why I'm giving Dyke ISTJ. Next up is Iris. Now, it should become no surprise to anybody, and some of you have absolutely no idea who Iris is. She is both the goddess of rainbows and messages. She's a messenger goddess like Hermes. And she's, I think, one of the only other goddesses who's allowed into the underworld, other than Hermes. And so if Hermes isn't around to send a message and they need to send a message to somebody else, usually Iris is the one that they're going to send. In the case of Demeter leaving and the earth growing cold and Zeus going, holy crap, what happened? Even though I'm partially to blame for this, he sends Iris to go and talk to Demeter, who kind of rejects the message and essentially says piss off to Zeus, who sent the message to her. She is also regarded as the connection between mortals and gods due to her traveling with a rainbow. So where the idea was that wherever there was a rainbow, the idea was that that was the path that Iris was taking to send a message to someone, supposedly, or that Iris had appeared very briefly in that area. And not only that, but she is in some cases also regarded as a person who brings about ideas and innovation. And because of all of these reasons, it should come to no surprise that Iris, the other messenger god, is an ENFP. Finally, we have one of the muses, Calopi. And she is a ENFJ. Yes, ENFJ. The reason why she is an ENFJ is because she's the oldest of the muses, the most respected of the muses, and she is a muse that comes to deal with a lot of the kings and rulers of the mortal realm. She's one of their muses and helps guide the rulers of the mortal realm. Not only that, but she was considered to be the muse of eloquence and epic poetry. Her thing was kind of legends and heroes. Like, she would be the one telling legends and heroes. And she is, of course, the mother of Orpheus. But she is also the one that helped a lot of rulers and, like, was a muse to a lot of rulers. And because of these, she is an ENFJ. Next up, we have Themis. Now, a lot of you may have been thinking, wait, but like Zeus is like the Greek god and all of that, and he's got like all the rules, and no. The person who came up with most of the freaking rules and the advice and how one should proceed and giving all of this is Themis. She is the mother of Dyke and some other people, Dyke being Justice. She was known to be the goddess of divine law, order, and customs. And she will look after them. Plus, she's also one of Zeus's wives, because of course she is. But if you're wondering who was probably giving Zeus the laws to implement, probably Themis. Probably Themis. Zeus coming up with that stuff on his own? Maybe, but more likely, probably Themis. Who she was the one who brought about justice, morality, to mankind and the gods, plus the rules of hospitality, good governance, traditions. All of that was Themis. And because of that, she is an ESTJ, and Zeus is not. At least that's for me. You may disagree, and that's absolutely fine. This is, of course, my list. And lastly, the one I had the absolute hardest time trying to figure out is INFP. which of the handful of gods and goddesses that could be counted on one hand that could be an INFP. There are only 3 of them, by the way. There are only 3 that I thought could be an INFP. Now, it's not going to be Persephone, and so that leaves 2 others. One of them is a muse, Erotus. We're not going to talk about her. We are, however, going to talk about the one that I did choose, and that's Morpheus, the god of dreams. Not a lot is known about Morpheus, just like not a lot is known about the other ones. He is a messenger who sends messages through dreams, oversees dreams. INFP being the dreamer archetype would make sense that, you know, an INFP would love to work said through dreams. Not only that, but he is one of the 3 dream gods, but the only one who I believe can shape change into any different kind of humanoid being. To send messages through the dream, such as, you know, sending a message to the wife that indeed her husband had passed away, or other such messages that needed to be sent out through dreams, whether they be divine prophecy or otherwise, that was given to him, and then he would go dream hopping until he found the person he needed to find. Actually, he would need to go dream hopping because he was the god of dreams and would know exactly which dream to go into. But regardless, Morpheus, the god of dreams, is going to be the INFP pick for this time. And that concludes the MBTI types as Greek gods. Some you may have heard of, some you may have not heard of, some you may have thought of, some you may not have thought of. But hopefully I gave you a new introspective idea as to what they could all be, and why Zeus is definitely, at least not in my mind, a thinker. With that being said, I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.